Hi, everyone. Welcome to Chimi Chat. This is April 27th, and I'm here with a couple of different people. I wanted to make this about football, so I've got Michael out of Ohio from a state that knows a lot about football, and Mike from Michigan, a state that doesn't have football. So it's a good chance for us to talk about that as we get going here. But I'll let these guys introduce themselves and talk more about who they are and what they do. Let's start in Michigan.
Hi, everybody. Mike Turriff. My wife and I own M4 Distributing, which is a small craft beer wholesaler. Been around for about 5 years now. As I mentioned, we focus solely upon craft and high-end imports here in Michigan, and just trying to get a bunch of great beer out.
And I'm Michael from Adena Distributing. We're down in Cincinnati. We cover southern part of the state. We do a little bit of craft beer, mostly doing kind of combination of local and national brands. We've been around for just a year and a half.
Awesome. Well, thanks for chatting to guys today. I know we're all going through some abnormal times and trying to figure out our business. You guys have been in this business for a long time from lots of different angles. Mike, tell us a little bit about your background.
So I just hit my 20-year anniversary in the craft beer business. Eddie, you went green all of a sudden.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
So I've been in the craft beer business for about 20 years. Started out way back in 1998 working for Goose Island when it was a very, very small brewery, not the gigantic Anheuser-Busch brewery it is now. And worked anywhere from, working for probably 4 or 5 different breweries over the time, anywhere from street level sales to regional sales to even running a couple of breweries up here in Michigan. And then about 5 years ago, probably before that, about 7 years ago, my wife and I decided that we were sick of doing the bidding for other people and not really doing what we wanted to do. So we had this crazy idea to start a craft beer wholesaler in a state that's dominated by Bud Miller Coors and a couple large regional and national craft brewers, as well as brands like Labatt. And so we came up with this idea. She thought I was crazy, but then eventually kind of acquiesced to it, and we sat down, talked about it, and we haven't looked back since. And we started out 5 years ago with Shelton Brothers Importers. We are not at all any partnership as far as ownership with Shelton Brothers. Everyone asks us that question all the time. And then we from there moved on to now currently handling Shelton Brothers 12%, as well as 8 or 9 Michigan craft breweries, and then a bunch of other regional breweries like Upland Brewing, Untitled Art, and a bunch of other ones, Second Shift, things like that. So if I forgot anybody, I apologize. Just kind of shooting off the hip right now on brands. So, and here we are today, and trying to figure out how to doggy paddle and keep our head above water with all these crazy times. So.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for that. Michael, I want to tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to be with Adena.
Yeah, we started about a year and a half ago with it was me and a friend of mine who had been in the industry working as distributors. I started when I was 25 years old as a merchandiser for a local distributor here in Cincinnati, and started to get into craft beer there, and switched over to premium beverage, to craft only distributor, and had probably about 6 or so years of experience when I realized and my friend realized we were going to have there looked to be space for distributors like ours that was not getting filled in Cincinnati, in the Cincinnati area. So we decided that we would start this about 3 years ago, I think. And it took a little bit of time to get everything together, to get brands together. We actually got our start taking Kentucky breweries into Cincinnati, smaller local Northern Kentucky breweries. And from there, we started adding national brands like Untitled Art, like Single Cut, Connecticut Valley. We've just picked up 18th Street and D9. And we've kind of just continued to grow from there until the lovely situation that we are all in right now.
Yeah, thanks. So similar kind of background. You guys saw an opportunity for an independent distributor in your market, and you guys helped make that dream come true.
Yeah, I was trying to think too. I think Michael, we might have crossed paths back in the day. One of those brands was I used to be the head of sales for North Peak Brewery out of Michigan, which premium I brought to the state of Ohio with the premium. So probably a little bit of a background there, a little bit of connection there back in the day. So
Cool. So I'll ask both of you, and whoever wants to kind of go first. How are you? How's business? What's your biggest challenges today? I'm sure it changes week by week. It has for us, but how are you today and this week?
Yeah, I mean,
Could be.
personally, I mean, all right. Work wise, it's been tough. It's been tough for everybody. I mean, being a small craft beer wholesaler, we don't have the luxury of being a bunch of chain business. We're not selling a ton of beer to Meyer or to Kroger or to things like that. Now we're getting into that business a little bit, which has been pretty beneficial for us for some of our breweries. But overall, we don't. So going into this thing on March the 15th, which they locked down bars and restaurants on March 16th here in Michigan. On March 15th, we were 48% of our business was done on the on-premise. So on March 16th, 48% of our revenue was shut off. So, you realize pretty quickly that you have to pivot and move pretty quickly in a different direction. And we've been able to do that a little bit. But, overall, I mean, we're not doing nearly as well as we were. We were trending up about 15% year to date when this whole thing happened. And now we're trending down for the year versus last year. But I think pretty much everyone's in that boat, unless you're a large Bud Miller and Coors wholesaler, like I said, where you're doing a ton of chain business. That's the funny thing is everyone says, oh, you're selling so much beer. Well, you're selling a lot of beer, but you're not selling a lot of our beer. And you're not selling a lot of the beer that we represent, because we're representing, small producers who don't have the ability to go into chain distribution and things like that. So that's just been, our biggest thing we've noticed right now and how things are going for us is, we're seeing a little bit of light at the tunnel. We're seeing some of our on-premise business come back in a little bit of a different form. And we are selling a few kegs, but I got a 2,000 square foot keg cooler that's at full right now, stacked 3 high with kegs that we're starting to pull old kegs out of rotation and starting to destroy some kegs. So that's something we never wanted to have to do. So it's kind of a little scary right now.
We're in a similar situation, and the small suppliers we work with don't have the resources to just give us credit and take those kegs back, which is challenging. Today in Michigan, what is the situation in the on-premise? What are they allowed to do, not allowed to do? So
on-premise is able to operate if you're working on curbside or take-out orders only. There is no in-house consumption at all in the state of Michigan right now. And honestly, I don't think there's going to be any in-house consumption for a long time in Michigan. You got to remember, here in Michigan, we were one of the first states that really had a pretty big outbreak, pretty substantial quickly. I mean, when you're looking at a state that's in the high teens, low 20s for population base, we were cranking around at number 3 on number of cases for a very, very long time. So things have been kind of shell-shocked up here. So what we're seeing is that a lot of takeout, a lot of to-go orders, a lot of people pivoting towards crawlers and package and things like that. And then, there's just a lot of beer that's sitting out there. Eddie, you and I were talking a little about beforehand. There's a lot of beer that's sitting at retail right now in the on-premise that, I really hope these retailers have been keeping everything cold, because there's going to be, when things do back up, there's going to be a lot of kegs coming back. And we're fine with that. I mean, we don't want to do that, but for us, the quality of the beer is the most important thing. So if we have to eat some money and eat some kegs to bring stuff back and replenish with fresh beer, we're willing to do that when we get back opened up.
Sure. Michael, how about y'all over in Ohio?
I mean, he basically said exactly what we're going through as well. We might have had, I wouldn't say we were 50-50 on-premise, but we had a lot of places that do draft as well as package sales. And losing that side of their business wasn't pleasant either. Like some of our largest accounts, like Jungle Gyms, they're not able to serve kegs. They were a very big draft customer for us. We have been kind of lucky. It doesn't come close to making up for the lack of on-premise, but some of these places are still pulling beer through carry out and doing crowlers like that. We've had a few people ordering kegs. We've probably had about as many people reach out to us for their kegerators selling kegs at they buy retail from us. And we've reduced the price on a lot of our kegs to get them out so they don't go bad. We haven't had to destroy any kegs yet. Some places are down, just even if they are only selling package, some of them are doing okay. The lack of chain, when you're dealing with especially early on with the panic buying, you saw a lot of people going large format, large, big name, getting cheap budget beer, and kind of just blazing right by our beers on the shelf. That seems to have stopped. People are kind of going back to normal. We're bringing in new stuff. People are asking for new stuff. People are reaching out to us about where to find our breweries again. So I think that like those 2 weeks, right? You said March 15th was when that's when it was shut down here in Ohio. Around that time, that was some pretty serious stuff. But since then, we've seen an ability to people are shopping again. People are, even if they're not, browsing the shelves and picking up cans, they're at least asking for, what's the newest single cut? What's the newest untitled art? What did you guys just get in from 18th Street? That's happening again. And for about a week and a half, it wasn't. And that was pretty scary.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that we realized too, is that when the minute that they closed bars and restaurants, about a week later, they actually implement a stay-at-home order, which all three of us are under right now. All three of our states are basically locked down. And what we had was we just had a lot of panic in our retailers that they didn't know what to do. So we had a lot of some of our larger retail customers who just basically shut their doors, not realizing that they could still be operating, they could still be selling beer, they could still be doing a bunch of things, but they just freaked out, shut their doors. And whether it was they shut them down because they wanted to keep their people safe, or because they just didn't know if they could legally operate. So we had a little bit of that. We're starting to see those guys open back up. But now what we're seeing is we're seeing a large part of our retailers who are not letting customers in the door for their own safety. So what you're seeing is they're all doing curbside to go, which, being a small craft wholesaler, as the three of us are, that leaves no shopping whatsoever. That no one's browsing for variety right now. So it really has kind of been incumbent upon not only us as a wholesaler, but as our brewer partners and our retail partners, just to really get the word out on what's available. Because yes, they're still asking for the new beers from Untitled Art from us. We just had a bunch of stuff come in this past week. They're still asking what's new from Prairie. They're still asking what's new from Transient and Brew Detroit and all of our other brewers and Drafting Table here in the state. But they're not, the consumer's not having the ability to go in and browse at retail. So that's been one of the things that we've noticed that's been kind of tough for us, is trying to figure out how we can actually get the word out about these beers that are available. And by the way, if I can sell direct to consumers, Michael, I saw that you guys were able to do that when I was doing a little research about you guys. Mm-hmm. That's just crazy to me. We would get shut down so incredibly fast by the liquor control up here. It would make your head spin.
You guys have, you're not able to do dock sales in Michigan?
No, we're not.
Mm. Yeah. So that's essentially what we were told, is it's basically a dock sale. It's a dock sale is essentially what we do. We still have, it's the same transaction, but we're just taking it to them rather than them coming to us.
Yeah, it's challenging, right? Because you don't want to promote it too much. You don't want to just hurt your partnership with your retailers. But at the same time, it's an additional revenue stream for you. No differently than some of the breweries that are selling direct to consumer or delivering that could not do it before this pandemic. It's a fine line to walk, but it is a nice option to have that Michigan doesn't have and Indiana does not have.
Yeah. What we do with it is basically it's not really something I'm not hanging up posters at places and trying to steal business. And if people are asking for customizable orders, I tell them just go to one of our customers that you can buy the stuff off the shelf there for the same price we're going to give it to you. And we just have one package that we set. Well, it's been about 5 total, but basically it's a specific mix pack of inventory that we have. It's still sellable. It's still good beer, but it's not the new stuff that we're bringing in. So our customers are getting all the new drops, all the new, everything new is still, if they want that, they got to go to the store, but, or use some of those people are delivering too. But what we do is just kind of, we don't want it to be a large part of our business. And it's not a very easy thing to do on an operations standpoint, trying to go to basically 5 or 6 new customers a day. That's not something that we want to keep doing. And once this whole thing's over, I don't think we'll continue to do it.
Well, plus on that, they probably call you up and say, "Oh, do you take credit cards?" And you're like, "No, you got to write." And I don't really want to take cash, so you got to write a check. And they're like, "What?" Like half people are like, "Well, like I run it all the time." If you're like, "What are checks?" I don't understand what a check is. That's a story for another day. But
okay, boomer.
Yeah, exactly. It's sort of
and then they try and write a check to me, and like you can't do that. It has to be to the company. It is all kinds of stuff. You're basically, whereas when you pick up a new account, like a retail account, then if it's a challenging account to deliver to, if there's specific things you need to know, at least that's information you can use. With with a home customer, we just they're probably maybe going to order maybe 1 or 2 of those again, and then that'll be it. It's not the repeat value isn't there.
Yeah. I know one of the challenges we're all facing is inventory control and forecasting. And you both mentioned still bringing in some new products. We are as well. And it's a challenge to try to figure out how much to bring in. And then as soon as the faucets turn back on, we'll want more. And our breweries don't just magically have this new product available to ship us. So if each of you kind of want to tell me your perspective on that and how you think we're going to come out of this.
Mike, I'll let you go first.
Right now we're pretty tight, just because we don't want to increase our issues with inventory, and we want to be, I'd rather have, just enough, or maybe even a little too little, than to end up with too much at this point. Especially the other owner is definitely, he looked at me like I had 3 heads when I was told him all the new beers we were going to be bringing in. But we have probably maybe between 40 to 60% of what we were bringing in package wise, and then obviously 0 draft. So it's probably, that's not great, but that our philosophy is right now, and we're probably closer to 60%, getting a little bit up there to maybe 70 or 80%. If we, trying to figure out where we're going to be in the future is difficult, but it does look like, at least on the package side, we're getting closer to normal.
Yeah, I think for us, I think initially we made the decision very early on when this whole thing came down, was that we're going to put primarily most of our focus on our in-state producers first. So we shifted a lot of our focus over. We immediately contacted all of them, found out who had the ability to can up extra beer for us, and basically have them shift all their production over to package if possible. So we are still buying new beer. What we're kind of doing is kind of how we run our business, pretty much the same as we always have, in the fact that a lot of our out-of-state producers, someone like, Second Shift or Black Project or Birds Fly South, we're not getting beer from them on a monthly basis anyways. So, we might space that out a little bit longer, where we're getting beer from them instead of every maybe 6 to 8 weeks. Now we're getting beer from them every 8 to 10 weeks. So we slowed that down a little bit there. What we also did was we took a really hard look at what was inventory wise was still in our warehouse that might still be great tasting beer, was still in date, but might have just been sitting here for a little bit because of the fact that we do bring so many new beers in and out of the portfolio on a weekly basis. So we essentially, one of the benefits of Michigan is that we are 100% COD state, whether it be on the supplier side or on the retailer side. So the minute that beer hits our floor, we have to pay for it. So that's great because everything that's in the warehouse has been paid for. There are no terms out there. So what we really did was, in order to generate some more revenue and keep distribution volume up, is that we slashed the price on a lot of products just to get them out there. And that was really beneficial in the first couple of weeks of keeping just our drivers busy and things like that. And then moving forward, we are taking a hard look. We're not buying, whereas we might buy 100 cases of something, we might be buying 50 cases of something, just because we want to make sure that that beer is gone within 2 to 3 weeks and in and out the door and not sitting on our floor. Because for us, obviously, the name of the game is trying to keep everything fresh as possible and just making sure that we're in a financial situation that whatever that new normal ends up being when the stay-at-home order is over and when bars and restaurants open up, we need to make sure that we have the financial stability to go ahead and start ramping up orders with our partners as soon as we possibly can, which on the flip side is because we have to pay for beer immediately, we don't have terms. We don't have the luxury of taking 15 days to pay for that beer after it hits our floor. We got to send that check off right off the bat. So it's really just been, kind of a thin line, but really no draft coming in whatsoever. We had some draft orders that hit our floor, a pretty substantial draft order that hit our floor from Keller Brewing out in San Diego about a week before the stay-at-home order came in. So unfortunately, a lot of those hoppy kegs are probably going to be bad, but Keller is going to be great. And they're actually going to work with us on that. So, but other than that, really just kind of focusing in on our in-state producers first and foremost, because in a lot of cases, we're their only line of revenue right now. Some of our brewers, they don't have any revenue whatsoever. They're doing a little bit of curbside, but they're not really set up to do curbside because they might not be packaging brewery and things like that. So just trying to work with them and trying to help out as much as we possibly can.
And I know each of our states has different laws and regulations on discounting product. Mike, for you, I know it's not as easy just to discount package temporarily for a short term and then bring it back. You have a 6-month rule, right?
It was 6 months. It's 3 months now. So
okay.
The minute that we discount something, we need to keep that package down in price for the next 90 days. So with the issue with that is that you really don't want to do it on an everyday item. Like I don't want to do that for one of our largest package products is a beer called Cerveza del Rey. It's a Mexican lager. I don't want to reduce my price on that because I got to stay down for 90 days. Well, the supplier is not going to keep their price down for 90 days. So I'm just going to be losing money over time. So for us, we really have to make sure that it's items that are going to come in are a lot of one-offs and things like that. So we did a pretty good job of cleaning up on a lot of inventory. It was great. Our retail partners really helped it out. I mean, when we're talking stuff, we took stuff that was normally to retail $100 a case and slash it down to $20 just to get it out the door, just to keep the drivers busy and just to clear up space so that we can keep on buying and make sure we have enough space to get new stuff in when it comes available.
And Michael, what's y'all's regulations and policies on discounting?
Well, when it came for us, we did the same thing that Mike did. We didn't want to cut any prices for things that we were going to be bringing back in. A lot of the stuff that we were sitting on, luckily, was stuff that we felt we weren't going to be getting back again. Some of the stuff we're getting is just, we know it's never going to come back. And a lot of it is the breweries we're picking up for have a large enough portfolio that we can kind of pick and choose. If we had to close something out, we probably won't pick it up even if it became available again. That was the first time. We're not that old, but I had never done any kind of serious price reduction to move stuff out before because we wanted to protect the brand and that kind of thing. We didn't like the idea of selling it out for less than what we had told people that was the fair price that we had. Obviously, with the coronavirus, we had to change that policy, and we were able to. And I think people were happy to do it. I was actually kind of surprised at how popular some of the price reductions were. It was kind of actually it was funny because the ones that are the most popular are the ones you're losing the most money on.
Oh yeah.
So it's like you're like, oh wow, that's a great price. I'll take all of that. I'm like, I'm sure you don't want like the one that's only $2 off. And they no, I'll just take one case of that, but I'll take 10 of the one that you're losing $4 a case on. So yeah, it was good, and I think it did help get us get some cash in our pockets right away. And the cooler has never looked better now. So it's
as I say, I think what people need to realize too, like on our standpoint, is like if you already have that asset, you've already paid for that beer. If it's just going to go old and you're going to have to destroy it anyways, you might as well get something for it. So my whole point is like, hey, if I'm going to destroy it and lose $75 a case, I might as well only lose $50 a case and put some sort of revenue in the bank. So that's right. It's a very tough pill to swallow, but we realized that probably at about 2 or 3 years ago. So I think, Michael, I think you probably would have realized that even if this hadn't happened, you probably would have realized that eventually you would have to do those things. But yeah, it's kind of counterintuitive, but I think all of our supplier partners realize that we're not trying to hurt their brands, that we're doing this because in the long run, it's actually going to help them out by moving stuff through the market faster.
Yes. And I think it It definitely did. I mean, people were, and like I said, I was familiar enough with doing closeouts, and we'd done a little bit, but it was definitely, I'd never just like tried to solve the inventory problem by just getting out the door. But when you think about it, even 10 cases, you don't sell. If you have 10 cases, you don't sell. That's worse than if you sell 30 cases reduced. So it's,
Yeah.
so it's, I mean, there's no question that you can really end up, I mean, unsold beer, I always say it is our biggest cost. And, it's, or it can be. And so if you have, just stuff that's it's not helping anyone sitting in your warehouse.
And that's a fine line between that and lost sales for not having inventory, right? Once the sale's lost, you never get that back. Yes. That money's been spent on something else. It's completely gone. I know each of our states have loosened some regulations and changed some in our current state of business. Which of those do you wish would stay around and or think will stay around, whether you want them to or not?
Well, so one main difference between Michigan and Ohio, and I don't know how it is in Indiana. Obviously, I think a lot of our states have consignment laws on picking up beer from retailers if you sell something, whether it's out of date or not. I know that I will actually give credit to the Ohio Liquor Control or Liquor Board that they actually, required wholesalers. I know it kind of hurts in our aspect that we had to go pick up all that beer. Or you guys had to pick up that beer that you just sold in, but the nice thing about that is that you got that beer on the market and you're able to redeploy it somewhere else in a lot of cases, especially the packaged product. Michigan, we don't have that. There's been a lot of rulings that have come out from our liquor control that have said that if we pick up any beer during these times, we will be held in violation and we will receive a fine. So unfortunately, we have retailers calling us on a daily basis, asking us to pick up, whether it be kegs or whatever have you. We want to do that. We want to get that beer out of the retailer. We want to make sure that they're financially stable when they open back up, but we unfortunately can't. So I think that's something that we definitely need to take a look at down the road. One of the interesting things for us is that brewers up here have always been able to do home delivery, just none of them realized it. So a lot of our brewer partners are all doing a bunch of home delivery, and I think it's great for them. I do think that there's going to be some sort of, whether you want to call it reckoning or tipping point down the road, is because a lot of the breweries right now have put a lot of infrastructure into doing that. And I think they're going to still want to do that when we're done with all this. And I think that it's something that the wholesalers up here, not including us, but a lot of the larger wholesalers, as well as the retailers, never thought would be an issue. And I think it's going to be seen as an issue because it's going to, especially on the retailer standpoint, because it's going to be skirting a lot of business for them. Whereas that beer might have been going through me, it's now going direct to the consumer on a home delivery. It's the same thing as if they went to pick it up at the tap room, but they just don't have to go do it. So, I mean, there's a couple of brewers up here who are doing 100% all home delivery right now. And it's going to be, I don't have a problem with it, but I think it's going to be an issue down the road. And I think a lot of people are going to have issues. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of shakes out with that, because, if you're putting that infrastructure in place right now, if you already have it built up, you might as well keep on using it if it's a large revenue stream for you. So I think those are the two most interesting things for me. One that I wish they would change, and one I don't know what's going to come of it.
How about you, Michael?
As far as the home delivery thing, we have people doing that down here, and I would be shocked if anyone was doing it outside of maybe Rheingeist. I would be shocked if anyone continued to do it after. It sounds like it's kind of we think it's a pain in the ass. We're a little bit even smaller than some of these breweries that are doing it, but I think that especially the ones that are already self-distro, I think all those resources are going to go back to delivering their customers. I know that we've had customers down here, retail customers, who were kind of, some of them thought that, okay, you can do this for the pandemic, but we're not going to tolerate this once business reopens. And some people are already saying, well, if you're going to deliver to my neighborhood, then I'm not going to carry your beer at all. So I think there is some pushback. And I have to imagine, you mentioned picking it up in the tap room. Like, I think that they don't want to take away easy sales where someone comes, picks it up, by all of a sudden now involving a driver in a van in a whole transaction that's being done remotely. But I don't know. I think we don't have. I'm trying to think of what you're talking about, Eddie, as far as rule changes that have affected us. The the big one I can think of is restaurants are able to deliver beer now with meals. That does not really affect us. I don't think that there's a lot of people. Unfortunately, they're missing out, but I don't think there's a lot of people who are wanting a pastry stout or a double dry hopped IPA that they're ordering that with their tacos or something. But I'm not sure if there's a ton of rule changes that we've had that I think just maybe if your customer is dealing more directly with us has been an effect of this, just kind of as we put ourselves out there a little bit more for this home delivery thing. And I would love that to continue. We're not allowed to drive people to we're not allowed to advertise for our customers or our breweries. So we can't really do one of those beer finder things. But when people are asking about, new releases and stuff like that, I love to be able to tell them that it's coming in. And a lot of these places know where they can get the beer. So I think that's been fun. People have kind of, when we first opened, people had a lot of questions, but then we kind of somewhat deliberately kind of slipped back into, we're just the middleman. We don't need to be, we don't have a brand that we need to really represent, but it's been nice to kind of get back out there. And, we're not really a customer facing business, but we have been now with, making these home deliveries.
Yeah. I think the big question is with home deliveries, whether it's coming from a wholesaler or from retailers, from breweries, from bars, when people don't have to stay home, will the demand for home delivery still be there from the consumer standpoint? I don't know if any of us have that answer or if anyone does, but if there's no demand for it, it doesn't matter if it's legal or not.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think Michigan's a little bit different in the standpoint is that we have one of the lowest self-distribution limits or caps in the country. I mean, they just raised it from 1,000 barrels to 2,000 barrels. Wow. So when you're talking about like Indiana, where you're 60,000 barrels, I believe, Ohio, I don't even know what Ohio's number is.
A million.
So yeah. So and it's funny to me because as a wholesaler, we bang the drum all the time for raising self-distribution caps, because if you come to me as a brewery that you're doing 5,000-10,000 barrels, you're a lot more valuable to me in our portfolio and to what we can do with you and help from an infrastructure standpoint than you are if you're doing 200 barrels, because 200 barrels, we have to do a lot of work. Whereas 5,000, 10,000 barrels, it's not a lot of work you have to do if you're distributing that much beer. I mean, you still have obviously manpower and things like that, but you don't have to really build the brand as quickly. So I think for us, it's going to be a tipping point, because where those home delivery numbers fall into line, if they're considered self-distribution numbers or if they're considered in-house taproom sales, that's going to be the defining point, because if they raised it. So what they did was they just raised the law to 2,000 barrels here, and they're getting ready to also add another part to it, that all in-house sales are taken out of, do not count against that 2,000 barrel number. So if you have a brewery who's self-distributing 2,000 barrels in kegs out in the market and selling another 10,000 barrels to their tap house, let's say, and including that 10, and then they do another 1,000 barrels in-home delivery, where does that 1,000 barrels get applied to? The in-house sales or the self-distribution sales? That's where it's going to be an issue, because if they apply it towards the in-house sales, then you could technically self-distribute to home consumers as many barrels as you want. Whereas if you count towards your self-distribution numbers, then that's going to be the issue. So I think that's what's going to happen, is that a lot of that needs to be clarified. And I know that they've already started talking about it, but that's the one thing that I think is going to be the biggest sticking point moving forward, because there's a couple of breweries, one in particular, who is going to ramp that up. I know they've been they have vehicles dedicated to it. They have infrastructure dedicated to it. So they're going to continue to want to do it. So where those numbers fall out, I think that's where it's going to be the issue. Not necessarily at all with us. It's going to be more an issue with a lot of the larger wholesalers who've been fighting against that number for a while, as well as, Michigan Retailer Association is one of the largest, PACs or here in the state that has some of the biggest pockets and biggest voices. So it'll be interesting to see on that aspect of it what happens. So yeah, we're backwards up here. 2,000 barrels is nothing.
Is 2,000 outside the tap room is what you're saying? So your tap room doesn't count?
Yeah. So the new law will be, you can self-distribute up to 2,000 barrels in cases and kegs in the general market, and then anything in-house sales does not count against that 2,000. So it's not total production; it's just 2,000 barrels of self-distribution. You can produce 20,000 barrels, and as long as you sell 18,000 of it in-house, you're fine. You don't have to sign with the wholesaler.
Yeah, that obviously with a 1 million barrel cap, that's the distinction does not come up in Ohio.
Yeah.
Maybe Ryan guys will approach that in the next decade, but I don't think anyone's really a threat to do that anytime soon.
Yeah, are they still self-distributing down there in the state?
Yeah, and they also, but they're not doing. I think it's like they do Columbus and Cincinnati, but then Kentucky and the rest of Ohio is
through distribution, wholesalers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know all of us have had some success stories from retailers and things that are working. Not asking you to identify specific retailers or breweries unless you choose to, but can you share any specific examples of success stories of people that are making it work in our current environment and how they're doing it?
Yeah. I think that the people who have kind of have a cultivated customer base, the ones that they really have a deep relationship with and have really kind of allowed them to grow with the store. I really don't want to name anyone specific, but it does feel that there has been kind of like some of these places that are more than just a package store where you can get cigarettes, lotto, and beer, places that really have a real brand and a real connection with their customers. I think those are the places that are doing well because they relied before this on people driving past chain convenience stores and going to their store to buy those beers that they had available that other places didn't have available. And so in order to still do that in the pandemic, they need that kind of connection. So there's lots of places that, might have been in trouble if they didn't have have that customer base. And I've seen a lot of places that people really have been, those are the places that we haven't seen any drop off, except for draft, obviously. But the places that we've seen are still just kind of churning through it. Those are places that really have a dedicated following.
Yeah, I'll agree. Anyone that is quote unquote been doing a lot of hand selling to their consumer base and really talking up what craft beer is all about, and really the baseline of all three of our businesses, because we don't sell Bud Miller or Coors. We don't sell. I don't sell Bell's Oberon. I don't. That'd be great, but we don't sell that up here. So really, we've been working with people who have been hand selling beers for a long time anyway. So they've been doing very well. And I think for us, the ones that are more active on social media have been very, very beneficial because of the fact that we've had a lot of situations where we have, for example, we have one of our largest, I won't name names, but in Western Michigan, we have one of our largest retail accounts. There's it's like 5 or 6 stores, shut their doors completely, then reopened for curbside only. So really the ones that have been doing social media and have been doing the infrastructure to build up online web stores and things like that. And those are the ones that have been succeeding the most. And those are the ones that I think that will succeed down the road, because if you've built this infrastructure to do online sales, to do curbside to go, or have beer ready to go, or so-called like shopping carts ready for people when they show up, why would you not continue to keep that going down the road? If you've already spent the time to do it, and if you can mitigate the impact, and as long as you keep your inventory up to date with what's in, which is hard for us because we're flipping new beers in and out all the time. Mm-hmm. As long as you can keep that up and keep that going, those are the ones that are being successful. Like you've seen it with a lot of the on-premise locations, because we can sell beer and wine to go. We can't sell mixed spirits to go, which I know they've been trying to change up here for a while. But they all have their online, like through Toast or stuff like that, their POS systems. They've all been able to do a lot of online ordering. And we're starting to see that a lot with our off-premise retailers too. And those are the ones that are being successful. And then as a wholesaler for us, we've been pretty loud on social media since the day we opened up, because it's one of the only things we can't advertise here in the state of Michigan. We can't sponsor anything. We can't do any of that. However, we can do Facebook posts and things like that, and it's not considered that is legal in the state. So for us, we've been very, very conscious to try to be even louder as far as what's available by posting information, and then even going as far as what we've done is we've actually compiled lists of all of our retailers that are still open and that are operating, whether it be packaged liquor, whether it be on premise, and we put that list up there. But we haven't included just our retailers, because if we did that, that's no bueno. So what we've done is we've actually gone and we've included other tap rooms that other breweries that we don't represent that are held by other wholesalers. We'll include there too, because for us, if the service industry isn't alive when this is over, then we're all kind of screwed. I mean, especially with us when we're running, 45, 50% of our business, if we don't have any consumers that, or retailers, to come back to, we're kind of screwed. So for us, we've really been trying to take kind of a whole community approach and let, even if a retailer's never bought beer from us, we'll still do anything in our power to kind of prop them up and let people know they're there. But obviously for us, the biggest thing has been just trying to give them the variety and give consumers a reason to go shop in. So we talked earlier about new beers. If it weren't for new beers, people wouldn't be buying our beer right now. People would not be placing orders with us. So truly, we thank all retailers that have done that. And it's, hey, people aren't shopping as much. They aren't quote unquote ticking as many beers as they used to, which I hate that terminology. But at the same time, they're at least going out and getting some new fun stuff out there for us. And then also generating other revenue streams. We're selling hand sanitizer. I never thought we'd do that, but we have a good friend of ours works for Mammoth Distilling here in Michigan. We don't represent them on a day-to-day basis, but hey, hand sanitizer is not classified as a spirit-based product here in the state of Michigan, so there's no franchise laws. So we're selling hand sanitizer. We're selling CBD water from Untitled Art. We're selling non-alcoholics too. And I don't know about you guys, but we fly through CBD water. It's insane how much CBD. I mean, we just got 4 pallets in on Friday, and half the 4 pallets are already sold.
That's Mike. Quick question: are you selling that to what places are you selling that to?
CBD water?
Yeah,
or anybody. It doesn't make a difference. Yeah. So we have some non-alcoholic business. We work with a company called Casimiro Club, which is an Amaro-based soda based here in Detroit, as well as we work with a cold brew and kombucha company. And so we already have a fair amount of customers that are like bakeries and things like that don't have liquor licenses. So we'll sell them the CBD water as well, because there's no, it's not regulated by the MLCC up here. For the most part, though, we're selling it to whoever they want. I mean, hey, if you're a restaurant and you want to buy CBD water and you want to put it on your online store, cool. I'll bring you 5 cases.
We hadn't really expanded outside. It's just because our beer accounts were ripping through everything we were getting anyway. So we've kind of it has been very successful for us. So we've had probably we've had a couple discussions trying to get it out, going to other places. I think some of those places are probably shut down right now. But like natural grocers that don't sell alcohol are another one that we were looking at, because those places maybe are doing a little bit better than some of the head shops or something like that might buy it.
Yeah, I think for us, like, we actually had a meeting. So every Friday we get together with our entire sales team. And I don't know how big your guys' sales teams are, but I mean, we have, we haven't let anyone go. We kept our entire staff on. So we still have 7 salespeople running around out there. We almost had 8. We actually were about ready to add an 8th person, and then they locked everything down. So we kind of pulled back on that a little bit. But since we have all of our sales reps still employed and they're still out there seeing people on a day-to-day basis, we really asked them to go out and some of those non-traditional locations that maybe never bought beer from us in the past, just to go see them or haven't bought in a while, and go to those non-buy accounts, because we have time now. When we're normally doing 60 to 80 deliveries in a day, right now we might be doing 20 to 30, and both of our drivers are being employed. And we actually had a 3rd driver who was on medical leave for 6 months. Well, he's scheduled to come back on May the 4th. And so now I'm going to have 3 drivers. And 3 drivers, and we're doing about a third of the normal deliveries. So for us, we're really trying to get them out. And then, hey, if we come out of this and all of a sudden we get back up to it, and we have to hire more drivers, then hey, we're built up. I mean, we do everything in Sprinter vans, but unfortunately for me, we had just literally picked up a brand new box truck a week before they locked everything down. And oh, by the way, there's a second reefer truck that's being built right now at a truck body shop in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So we have a second one coming. So we unfortunately are going to have lots of capacity to deliver beer and non-alcoholics without necessarily all the customer base. So it's hey, rip the Band-Aid off now, make it unpainful, and then you're just even stronger down the road. So, but yeah, I think it's important to look for some of those non-traditional stuff, and really for us, going to see those accounts we haven't bought in a while, because you never know. You might not have time for them before, but you definitely have time for them now.
And Mike, you mentioned the sanitizer. Is there anything else outside of the beverage category that you're looking at or considering putting on your trucks?
No. I think that the more you diversify yourself down the road, it isn't a bad thing. But at the same time, too, when you're asking your sales teams that are pretty much 100% dedicated on selling alcoholic or non-alcoholic beverages and selling a portfolio that is higher end, whether it be like I mentioned the Casimir Club, all his label art is done by the same label artist who does all Stillwater's labels. And we're talking, this is $40 a case soda is wholesale cost on it. It's not cheap stuff. You can't put this in a Coca-Cola format wholesaler and have it work. So all of our sales team is very, very good at selling high-end products. And for me to kind of put something else on the board, like we've looked at, obviously marijuana is legal here in the state of Michigan. For recreational use. And it's funny, you go down to the shops on the Indiana border, there's no social distancing going on. You go down to the ones on the Ohio border, there's no social distancing going on. There's 100 people in line, which is not necessarily a good thing. But if that's what you're getting at, Eddie, to put that stuff on our trucks, we would not even legally be able to do it. We'd have to have separate trucks and things like that. So we looked at possibly becoming a delivery agent about 6 months ago when things got to start to open up, but it'd be too much of a headache. And I don't sell chips and I don't sell, other things like that. I'm fine with selling, beer, wine, and, non-alcoholic beverages right now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we're all calling on specialty retailers, whether it be on-premise or off-premise. So we're opening our minds to considering anything that kind of fits in those retailers' wheelhouse. So whether that be organic honey, chef aprons. I mean, we prefer something that stays high-end and stays craft-oriented, and something we can deliver to our current customer base. That's one less other salesperson or delivery person that they have to deal with. If we can offer something to them, we haven't found any answers, by the way. I was hoping you guys had some that we could explore, but we're certainly keeping our minds open.
Yeah, I mean, chef aprons are non-perishable, so I guess they can sit in your warehouse for months on end. I mean, for us, we, believe it or not, what we sell a lot of during this whole thing? We still sell a ton of Underberg, which is amazing to me because Underberg is actually classified as a digestif, and it's classified as it doesn't fall on the lines of the TTB. So we can sell it to non-alcoholic accounts, and I mean, we're obviously not selling as much as we used to before, but because we sell to a lot of bars and restaurants, but we catch it as an alcoholic, and with the hand sanitizer thing, it was mostly being done as to help out our friends, and then and just try to add that extra. We're not out trying to bring new customers in with the hand sanitizer. We're not, even though we can sell it out our front door. We're not doing that. For us, it's more of making sure that our retail partners are kept safe and their establishments are kept clean, and because it's not like gel based, it's spray based. So it's just, we can use it as hand and surface sanitizer. So that's kind of like the only real thing that we've added during this whole thing. It's not something that we will be moving down the road.
Well, we got a question here from Sam. Do you think there'll be a shift to larger formats?
I think definitely you're going to see a lot of people are buying crowlers, crowler machines. I think that was already probably a trend on the upswing. I think a lot of people are going to buy it for the, short term, but then when, it's not a cheap machine, if you, you might as well keep it around. I think that might create an interesting space in the market. When he was saying large formats, I think he also probably meant like 12 packs and 15 packs.
I think he meant more bombers.
Bombers? I don't think bombers are coming back now.
No, I think bombers have seen their day. However, we did just release a bunch of lambic and goose in the market. Eddie, I should have called you. Sorry, you could have come up and picked up a bunch of Tilcan and stuff like that, and Drie Fontaine.
On my way.
No Cantillon though, Eddie. No Cantillon. But I think single serve market in general is just, it's, that's early 2000s and 2010s. And I think it's pretty much dead now. I think it's really hard to have that coming back unless it's a very specialized barrel aged beer or, Belgian style lambic or goose. I think those will still work, but otherwise, 22-ounce bombers of IPA. If someone comes to my door down the road and they sell 22-ounce bombers of IPA as their main package format, I'm going to say, cool, doors over there. Come talk to me when you have, 4-pack cans, or come talk to me when you have 4-pack bottles, or just 12-ounce or 16-ounce format. But yeah, October crawler machines are made here in Michigan. So anyone wants to keep on buying them, go for it. Put more money back in the Michigan economy. But I do know that the guys over at October, for example, they do have a wait list for new machines. And the other issue is that no one can find aluminum right now. So all those 16-ounce and 32-ounce crawler package are back ordered because they're all primarily run by Ball Manufacturing, and Ball runs them once a quarter. So we had a bunch of our retailers actually ran out of empty cans a couple of weeks ago. So people were kind of running around trying to find cans with the market. So
yeah, I have heard the shortage of crawler cans.
I have a huge amount of respect for both of you and your careers and what you're doing today, every day to fight the fight out there for small independent businesses. Any last minute thoughts you guys want to share before we end this broadcast?
The only thing I would say is that, we're all in this together. We obviously, we're in a very interesting situation because all three of our states border each other. So whenever Ohio does something, Michigan will follow, and then Indiana will follow. It freaks me out a little bit that certain markets are opening up faster than others, because I do think we need to take care of this thing right first and foremost and rip the Band-Aid off and make it be painful. But, I think people need to realize too that, bars and restaurants are not going to be the same as they were before. You're not going to go back to once the stay-at-home orders are over, or once we flatten the curve and knock this thing out. You're not going to see, bars and restaurants that would hold 100 people. They're not going to hold 100 people anymore. You're still going to have social distancing measures in place. Their capacities are going to be reduced by 50%. So I think it's very incumbent upon the three of us and other wholesalers to show compassion when it comes to that, and realize that, hey, business will be forever changed on this for at least the next couple of years. And we just need to kind of keep on doing what we're doing and keep on staying the course and figuring out what's best for our retailers that way. Because it's not going to get back to the way it was 2 years ago. It's not going to get back to the way it was, 3 months ago. I wish, but it's kind of a little scary. So this is the last thing I would say. Yeah.
The only thing I'd add to that would be, get takeout and tip generously when, find those places that you really like that are selling food to go and beer to go. And because we can talk about how it sucks for us and it sucks for our suppliers and it sucks for our package stores, but it really sucks for bars and restaurants. Those guys are feeling it the most. And those are the people that we really need to support.
Yeah, it's really important. We vote with our dollars, right? Everyone needs to vote with their dollars. Who do you want to stay around? Who do you want to be here? And that's always been the case, but it's emphasized right now. And I will say, selfishly, as a wholesaler representative, if you buy from a local bar or restaurant, they're buying likely from a distributor who's buying from a brewery, and there's a whole supply chain of people that benefit from that sale. Not just one direct group. So just consider that as also when you're making your purchases. We all employ people. We all spend money with retailers. Our employees have to have jobs so they can go out and buy food and beverages from retailers. So we are all in this together, and we all should think more about the dollars we spend and where they go.
Yeah, I was going to say one other thing too is that's true as well, is that while it's been great when all this stuff happened, bars and restaurants sold a bunch of gift cards to keep open. Do keep in mind that when they open back up, those gift cards, that money's probably already been spent by that brewery or by that bar or restaurant. So don't just go to a place and say, "Oh, I have a $25 gift card. I'm going to go buy $25 worth of food or $20 of food and then tip $5." Buy something a little extra, because that's going to be a pretty interesting situation, because all these gift cards that were bought, there's going to be all that's going to be redeemed for, but there's going to be no incoming revenue for those accounts. So you got to really make sure that, while you support at the beginning by buying all those gift cards, make sure that you're going above and beyond and spending more money with them, which, I know it might be hard to do in your current situation, but if you have the ability to do it, give a big tip, like Michael said, and just spend more money because they're not going to have any revenue coming in, which I think is going to be a really interesting situation for a lot of these accounts that have been selling these gift cards because they're not going to have any foreseeable revenue for a while. So
that's
cool.
great.
Well, thank you guys. I can't wait to see you live so I can give you big hugs.
Yeah, virtual hugs, Eddie.
Yeah.
Keep fighting the fight.
Will do. Mike, it was good to meet you.
Good to meet you too, Michael. We'll talk soon, guys.
Definitely.
Cheers.
Take care.
All right, bro.